In this ongoing video series, I test money-making woodworking ideas from YouTube. For example, I found this video where someone claims to make $75 out of one 2x10 within just 1 hour by making a simple bench. Well, let's find out if that's a true story. As always, I will rebuild the project. I will try to stick as much as possible to the original design, and then I will put it on Facebook Marketplace for about 4 weeks.
All right, here we go. As I said, when I make this bench, I will try to stick as much as possible to the original design, but unfortunately, I didn't have the right material in my shop, and I didn't want to go and buy some more, so I just ended up with, instead of a 2x10 that he used in this video, I just ended up with some 2x6 that I glued together. Here I prepare the material, and I already cut the angles. You could say that this is more work than he used in his video, and well, yes, you're right, because I glued the boards together. I spent a lot more time on building the bench than in the original video, but I think because the narrative of this video is trying to sell it, so I believe it doesn't really matter how much time I spend to make a proper test. Here I glue everything together. Same goes for the legs. And even though that I do things a bit different than in the original video, it's still fairly easy to build this bench. Okay, a little bit of sanding. I use the belt sander before I do the finish sanding, and this is because a belt sander works pretty well to remove excessive glue, and also because those construction lumber always have this very deep stamps on the surfaces, and to get rid of it, it's easier with the belt sander. And once this is done, I use my orbital sander to give the finish sanding. And here I apply some stain on it. And on projects like this, where you have a project that comes in 2 different colors, it's usually easier to do the staining or painting before you put everything together. It just saves you time with taping and staining. And if you know my videos, you know how much I hate staining. Here I use some natural white stain, and in the video you can barely see it, but I want to do this. I want to do, as I said, to repeat the test as close as possible. All right, and here we are already in the assembly part. So this is really not a difficult project. Pretty much almost everyone with the miter saw and a few drills can do that. So here's something that I do different again than the original design from the original video. In the original video, he just glued those. Let's say is it a not a footrest or is it a shelf on it, but doesn't matter. He just glued it together with a few brad nails, and I don't think this is a good idea because I don't think this is a strong joint if you just nail it together with some glue. So I use screws instead. I would always recommend this. So this is definitely something you want to do different than the original video because yeah, like I said, this is not a strong joint if you just use brad nails and some glue. And same goes for the seat. If I remember correctly, also in the original video, he also just nailed it together. And like I said, I don't like this. I don't think it's a very strong joint. So I also put some screws in here. And well, you could say I could screw it a bit different instead of having those visible screws on the surface. But I think I don't want to make things like, I don't want to over design it and make things over complicated. And because it's also a very cheap bench, I just wanted to do things as quick as possible. And as you will see in just a minute, there's a little trick that I learned to hide, or not to hide screws, or make them less visible. And this is here. I'll just use a permanent marker and kind of paint the screw heads, and well, that's pretty much it.
All right, I'm back, and the bench is gone. I actually sold it not for 75 bucks, but for 85 bucks. It took about 3 weeks for the bench to sell, and I wasn't so sure if I would be able to sell it at all. And eventually, after 2 weeks, when the ad was up, I thought I might have to reduce the price by a bit because the bench didn't get a lot of attention right from the beginning on Facebook Marketplace. Usually, when you post or when I post something, I get for about maybe 100, 150 to about 500 views per week on a new ad. But this one only get just a few views and not a lot of shares and not a lot of saves. So I was a bit concerned right from the beginning if I would be able to sell this bench. And then, like I said, after 2 weeks, I considered decreasing or reducing the price by, let's say, 10 bucks or so, because I hope that this might help me selling it. But to be honest, eventually I just forgot to do it. And then after 3 weeks, I got a message from a nice lady, and she didn't even negotiate the price. She just asked if whenever I would be able to deliver it. And it turned out that she came from the town where I work my full-time job. So I just put the bench in my car, and then I brought it to work with. And after work, she came over and she picked the bench up. So it's gone. Would I recommend to build this bench again? Yeah, maybe, because it was not difficult to make it all. And I think it is a great beginner project, especially if you want to try to sell some stuff on Facebook Marketplace or wherever you want to sell it. This is an easy project, and it's a cheap project, so you don't need to take a lot of money or spend a lot of money on the material. You only need a few tools, even though that I did this bench a bit different because I didn't have the right material here. But overall, I would recommend making this bench, and I would also recommend trying to sell it. So for me, this project, I would give a thumbs up. All right, if you liked that video, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.